here playing some more historic best of 3 Merfolk. Still playing the deck that we tweaked to the sideboard a little bit to deal with the control players. Still lots of wizards decks in the meta that we're fighting against. Coming up against a lot of control and green ramp the last couple of days. Since the last video, went on a little bit of a winning streak, managed to get from Diamond into Mythic, bouncing around the 300 to 400 range at the moment. So let's see who we come up against tonight. Okay, we're playing against New Payu in Diamond, and we're going to be on the draw. We have come up against this opponent before, and they were on Lifegain with an Ajani avatar. That seems plausible. This hand seems fine against Lifegain, just getting on the aggro plan. So let's keep this. We will see if they lead with a Soul Warden or something else that indicates that they're on that deck, or if, like everyone else, it turns out they jumped onto Wizards. Lands and Speaker of the Heavens. Looks like we're playing against Lifegain. Alright, we're going to play that tapped land because we have nothing else to do on turn 1. Hopefully they have nothing that triggers on Lifegain on this turn. Cleric class isn't too bad. Looking at an attack from that speaker, it's not the end of the world. We don't have anything to play at instant speed, so we want to roll out the Tunnel Guide, get that boon on the board, with the plan to probably go Rege into dumping the rest of our hand after next turn. Not a great start without any disruption if he's to play any Angels or Clerics, or a Heliod, or really any kind of payoffs here. So we'll wonder what they are going to hit. They might Cleric class this turn and start pumping things. Giada is about as good as we could hope for there, actually. Hey, Boseiju, with this many lands, we're probably going to use that as a spell later on. We're going to play the Botanical Sanctum because it is has to come in this turn to stay untapped, drop a Rege. We will try and put the token or the counter on our Tunnel Guide. Oh, another Rege. That gets us really into hand dumping territory next turn. We're going to keep that on top and get in with the Tunnel Guide. Even if he has something like a Path to Exile or something for that Regery, offering that trade for that Tunnel Guide would be just fine. Let's see what he's got on 4. If he doesn't start doing something relevant here, it's going to start to get pretty difficult. Okay, we will play the Cavern of Souls, holding up the island here just in case we have a Shoreline Scout or something. There's no benefit to playing a Cavern of Souls, I guess, unless he's playing Mana Tithe here. Alright, so we're going to put a Rege out and untap one of our lands. That's going to let us play the Pearl Trident. Here, we don't want to trade off with the 2 creatures if he blocks, so let's see if we can put a counter on that Rege. Tunnel Guide is great for next turn, lets us tap some things down. Let's play a Lord, tap both of his potential blockers. Suppose there's an argument to be made here to untap the 2 lands and then Boseiju his Cleric class, but that's not what I'm worried about here, I think. We know that one's going to be a counter, and we're going to get in for 12, put them on the back foot for next turn. Next turn, assuming they don't remove either of those Regeries, we're going to be able to place Valiant and a Tunnel Guide, tapping down up to 4 creatures. And I think we got them based on that play, and they agree that we got them. So that was a nice, quick start to that game. Alright, playing against a Lifegain deck. There are targets for the Revoker, but I don't think a Cleric class is necessarily worth it. If we'd seen the Ajani that gains life, maybe, but I don't even know if that is worth it. We definitely want to bring in our creature removal and our Tidebinders, though. So we're going to bring in the Eaten by Piranhas, Tidebinder, Mindsinger to steal some Soul Wardens. That can be a total blowout. And we'll bring in our Tail Swipes. If we see a lot of creatures, I will bring in a Sleep against these matches as well. But given the number of enchantments that we saw in that game 1, I'm guessing this is kind of the heavy Angels blockers deck and more of a enchantments combo-y Lifegain. So we're going to gamble on not needing sleep. Things to pull out in this matchup. We didn't see any Wraths. I don't suspect with the creatures that they pulled that they're going to hit us with a Wrath of God, so we're going to drop the 3 Silvergill Adepts. We want to keep our Lords here, especially our tapping Lords with the Regeries. So I think I'm going to drop the Shoreline Scouts and just know that we have to mulligan to to a decent hand, 4 lands. Then we have to cut 2 more creatures. In a lot of cases here, that'll be 2 Pearl Tridents. I don't like cutting the Tunnel Guides when we've cut the Shoreline Scouts. It just leaves us far too light on mana fixing. The mana could be relevant if we need to draw cards if the game goes long. And Svelian to block a great big Pridemate. So yeah, by process of elimination, we're going to go cutting 2 Pearl Tridents. Weakens our aggro plan a little bit, but our disruption plan is a lot better game too. Let's see how this goes post-board, and if I'm right in my assumptions about the deck that they're playing. Oh, that is not a good hand, so let's mulligan that. All right, so we've got an option here to keep just a Trickster and potentially toss the Svelian, keeping the land for the Collected Company. I think, though, we're going to gamble on drawing back into our 4th land and keep the gas in. So I'm going to keep 6 and toss one of the Cavern of Souls. If we draw running lands, that Boseiju could hit an enchantment for us. All right, we got a Soul Warden. Hey, a Hall of Storm Giant. So let's play that first, just to make sure we don't forget to play it. Then we're going to run out the Botanical Sanctum next. Another Soul Warden. It's not the end of the world, especially without another 1-drop. All right, we'll run out the Botanical Sanctum and see what they play next turn. It's a possibility we want to play a Merfolk Trickster if they've got something that reacts to the Lifegain. That's fine. And then we'll hope they make an error here and attack with the 2 Soul Wardens. All right, they did not make that error. We're still going to play the Trickster. We need something on the board. And we're going to tap down that Resplendent Angel. We're not worried about the extra life gain in that scenario because at the beginning of the end step trigger has already gone off. So just like last game, play out the Cavern of Souls and we put the Reach into play. We got to start getting some damage in here. So while we're only netting 1, we're starting to reduce them so that we don't end up in that critical range where they have a lot of life to spend. This activates for 5 to activate itself, so we've got 1 more turn before it matters. And we can actually mess around with the Hex Catcher at the beginning of their turn if we think that's going to be a problem. Ooh, Ossification with a Boseiju on the table. Let's see if we draw another land. We did not, so we're going to have to play that out. And then we are going to hold up the Collected Company. We're actually going to keep the Trickster back as a blocker. Keep him from attacking with those Soul Wardens. All right, he has the mana for that Resplendent Angel, so let's see if he activates it after swinging. No. Interesting. That's not relevant now. So let's play out our Trickster, tap it down, and then we'll play our Hex Catcher. We'll save our Collected Company for next turn. Trying to hit a Tishana's, and this will get us some bodies on the board that get to swing in against those Soul Wardens. All right, let's get in. I'm going to offer to trade the Hex Catcher for a Soul Warden. He wants to do that, but they need the life gain active. All right, we're going to try and hit this with the Tishana's now that he's active. Did not get there, but what have we got on the board? We're going to Glasspool Mimic a Trickster and tap that thing down and then steal one of his Soul Wardens. We copy a Trickster, tap down the Resplendent Angel so it can't get benefit out of the activation that it just did. And it has lost its ability to trigger, and we've got an Eaten by Piranhas. So we are doing okay here. He's at 25. So do we play the Svelian this turn? No, I think we need to Eaten by Piranhas that Resplendent Angel. Let's attack and offer trades. If he trades a Soul Warden for Soul Warden or Hex Catcher, we're in good shape. So then let's play the Cenote Scout. Check out what's on top of our deck. Either draw through a land Or Pearl Trident will be good next turn, and eaten by piranhas while their mana's down so that they cannot activate it. Should be in pretty good shape here with the Trickster, Mindsinger, and Piranha's removal package. Let's play out a Lord. And there's always a possibility we're playing into a Settle the Wreckage here. I think we could actually survive it with the Hexcatcher's counter ability. He's got a couple of blockers, but not really much that I expect him to be able to do with one card in hand and only white mana. Let's see if New Payu has anything in store for me, or they're thinking, or they're going to Salt Rope now that the game is lost. Looks like Salt Roping is the choice today. That's unfortunate. Especially when you're playing ranked, just spend the time getting into your next games. There's no sense in trying to take out your frustration on somebody that gets to sit here staring at a pleasant winning board state. All right, and that's going to win us our game against Lifelink, despite their walking away from their computer as the game ended. All right, let's do another game after that white Lifegain match. This one's matching up much more quickly. Oh, rank number 4. Let's see what they're on. Last time I came up against Near 3, they were on red-white artifacts. And with Lurrus as their companion, that looks like it's still true. This seems like an okay hand for aggression, but may get us run over. I think we're going to keep it anyway and see how it goes. All right, what we want to see against artifacts is not an Ornithopter start, so we are off to the races. We're looking for lands here, and we hit a land. The next turn, we probably drop probably both Cenote Scouts. The Master of the Pearl Trident is going to be too much of a target for Saw Blades. Oh, this is either I tracked artifacts differently, or if this is an Auras deck, do we change it up against Auras? Not with an Invisible Stalker on the board. We'll offer the trade, and then we'll play 2 Cenote Scouts with the Reach the next turn. He should not make the block here. I can't imagine any world where he would. 1 Cenote Scout. We will keep a Tidebinder on the top of the deck. If he plays a Staggering Insight or anything along those lines, that trigger actually allows us to remove all the abilities from Invisible Stalker. The Tidebinder will also be great against a Light Pause, assuming this turn doesn't get them out of reach. All right, Sentinel's Eyes isn't that great for us. All right, he knows we have a Tidebinder in hand, so may hold up, but we will see what the plan is. All right, Staggering Insight. Now here's the fun part. We get to remove all of Light Paw's abilities with this Tishana's. It is nasty against an Auras deck if you have the right timing. They get to keep all of their pluses, but none of the triggers. So we've now got Light Paws shut off. Ethereal Armor doesn't come back. Staggering Insight doesn't come back. So we would go to 8. We're on a 2-turn clock if we let this through. I think we're probably going to chump with the Cenote Scout. We don't want to trade off here and put those creatures and auras back in the yard for Lurrus to recover. But we also can't afford to be on the 2-turn clock. So here, I think we play the Breeding Pool tapped, put in a Reach, keep back a Chump Blocker. What could he be activating? So there was a pause there. He's got a spell of some sort. We can't afford to lose that Tidebinder to a combat trick. We're just going to get in with one of the Cenote scouts and see what's what. Nothing specifically so far. All right, so again, we're going to block with a Cenote scout. Can't think of any trampoly tricks in this color pair, so this should be fine. We're down to 12. All right, activated Luris, brought it into hand. Oh, interesting, it's not just blue-white. It is Bant. Okay, we're going to... That Hexcatcher was actually a great draw, so we're going to Glasspool Mimic our own Rege. And then this allows us to do this. Untap our Cavern and a land that will allow us to Hexcatcher and tap 2 things down. So we can fairly safely swing in with everything here. 6, 10, 15. If he goes no blocks, we actually have lethal with the Hexcatcher. So he has to chump with that Invisible Stalker, and he's not going to. We're risking that the 1 card in hand is a Path to Exile or something along those lines, but we're going to take that risk. And here we'll untap these 2, just on the off chance that it matters. Oh, slip out the back. Interesting. All right, down to 4. We can block 6 of the damage. We know they have a Luris, but Luris only brings back permanents from the yard, so can't do that slip out the back. So really, that's interesting. The phased out Tishana's Tidebinder still counts as being on the battlefield for the purpose of detecting its ability. I'm going to have to do some thinking about whether that's how that should work or a weird interaction on Arena itself. All right, so auras. Things we know. Tishana's Tidebinder is good. Mindsinger can be if we get it out early enough. We definitely need our removal suite of Tail Swipes and Eden by Piranhas. This is effectively a combo deck, so we don't need our slow creatures. Our Kamena comes out, and I would actually, given that they have blue in the deck, take out our Regeries over taking out our Island Walk Lords. So now my major decision is, do I bring in the Mind Singers, hoping to catch one of their aura-wearing creatures early? I don't think so, but maybe if we see a good target or a lot of creatures next turn, or next game, we will. All right, so pulling cards out. Silvergills, not super great in this matchup. And like I said, we're going to keep the Pearl Tridents. So now the decision is between dropping 2 Regeries or 2 Shoreline Scouts. I might just split the difference here. That probably means I don't know which one is better in the matchup and I can make a better decision, but that seems like we won't get... Our odds aren't too bad of getting caught with too many 3-drops in an opening hand. Let's see how it goes. That's not a bad opener overall. They're going first. We have some disruption. Yeah, we're going to keep this. There's always a chance against an Auras deck that they blow us out with an early start, but a tapped land is not going to do that. So with 2 extra lands in hand, we're going to play the Cenote Scout first. Makes a better blocker, draws us through land instead of converting. So we have to remember to play the... Oh, that's even better. Yeah, we'll play the Hollow of the Storm Giants. We will Tail Swipe, taking out the Spirit Dancer. Then we might as well convert that Botanical Sanctum to a Trop. That's about as lucky as we could hope to get with their draws lining up with our draws. Luris first. That's interesting. So we will play a drop and get in with those two creatures. I'm not going to play a Lord here. Save the Tishana's Tidebinder in case they play something else. But if he just drops Lotus, we're going to turn it into a skeleton for him and not let him play that Spirit Dancer next turn. All right, so yeah, we're going to counter that using the Shoreline Scout, put that ethereal armor in the yard. Just don't even want to deal with a skeleton wearing ethereal armor. There, Cavern. Piranha's that Luris. And get in with the Cenote Scout. We can only play the Tunnel Guide with the rest of our turn. And now I feel like we are quite far ahead, unless they have some pretty outstanding draws to dig out from under this. Given that it's an enchantment deck, there's always the chance that they're running Besejus or other enchantment-based removal. Taking a good look at Eaten by Piranhas, so there's a chance that might be coming back to our hand or getting destroyed for a land. We will see what their plan is here. If they can remove that for a couple of mana... Oh, he's just double checking to make sure ethereal armor still works. Well, we're going to load up Skeleton Luris. That's a great big Luris. Are there any triggered abilities here? No. Alright, that changes our plan a little bit, I think. I was going to hold up the Tidebinder, but there's not much else going on there, so we're going to put out Svellian. And then we're going to target Svellian with the boon. The Note Scout's not good enough to help later, so we will drop that. Can't attack through that first strike trample Luris, so we won't even try. Ooh, that Luris is getting big. So we're going to take 4 through this, depending on what that card in hand is. This is an interesting line. Is it worth 3, 4, 5, 6? We could throw everything in front of this. But I don't think it's worth it. Not with that card in hand. That makes me too nervous. We're just hoping we can pump Svellian up faster than he can pump up his Luris. All right, let's play out that new Tunnel Guide, and we're going to put the counters on Svellian. Come on, not a land. Pearl Trident, that's great. Drawing that Pearl Trident doesn't give us anything meaningful here. We're just going to pass the turn. Our Tishana's Tidebinder, having flash with 2 Tunnel Guide boons on the battlefield, can actually pump this Svellian up to an 8-9. So we're going to play it and make Svellian huge. And we got a scoop out of it with that pump. So our removal lined up really, really nicely in the early game, disrupting their plan. They loaded up Luris with a really interesting tactic, but Svellian's indestructibility and us just patiently building up our board let us win that against Mythic rank number 4.